coming of Hazrat Mehdi is a true fact. It's a great reality, and many people are trying to hide away this truth, and many of the people are not aware of this reality, and they are veiled, and they cannot see this reality. However, our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, 1,400 years ago, he described in great detail that there are signs for the appearance of Hazrat Mehdi, and these are all truthful hadiths. How can we understand that these are truthful? This is how we find the authenticity of those hadiths, actually. When we look at the events, the occurrences that we have come across in the recent history, we see that all the hadiths have taken place just exactly as they have been described by our Prophet. This is really very interesting and also very exciting. For instance, we see that Baghdad will be burning in fire. Let me read the hadith first. In the end times, Baghdad will be removed with fire. When we look at the articles, we can see that in year 2003 there was an Iraq war, and Baghdad was one of the cities that was fired, that was bombed greatly, and we can see that the city was in great fire. We have come across all these things. We have witnessed them. Just like in the hadith, it was bombed immensely, it was burning, and it's really very important that Baghdad was the city, just as described in the hadith, and also we learn in the hadith that there would be fire in the city, and again we saw that Baghdad was under great fire, and also an army was lost in Iraq, and people were shocked by seeing this. And really, just exactly the same way, there were 60,000 soldiers, and there was an army of the Iraq, actually, and people were astonished when they couldn't find any of the troops, any of the soldiers. They couldn't understand where they were found, where they had gone. And we learn in the hadith, our Prophet says there are 5 signs for Hazrat Mehdi, Sufyani, Yemani, the loss of a troop of soldiers to be lost in the desert. And again, in another hadith, we learn that a group of soldiers will be lost in the desert. And exactly the same way, we saw that those 60,000 soldiers of the Iraqi army, actually, they were lost totally, and it was exactly the realization of the hadith. It's really a miracle that the hadith has taken place, and also that the troops have been lost. And it's a miracle from Allah, and Allah informed about this reality, about this occurrence by revelation to our Prophet, mashallah. And also we remember that the currency of Iraq would be lost, actually. In the hadith we learned that the Iraqis will have no money to shop, no currency to purchase things with. And again we find in the headlines here that Iraqis will have lost their money, have lost their currency, and this has been realized in such a way that in the Gulf War, the Iraqis did not have any money in their treasure, and they were in a great economic crisis, and when they traveled to different places, they couldn't use their money to purchase things. These are the signs of the appearance of Hazrat Mehdi, and people should be having great excitement to come across those miracles.